Oh, here it is. Season 1, Session 1. All about temperature. Let's get started, shall we?
Have you ever run a temperature when you were sick? When feeling nervous, do you get a sense of the room's temperature or the audience's? How many times today have you checked the temperature on your phone's weather app? I hope your app gives more accurate readings than mine does. When you think about temperature, I bet everyone can come up with the same idea. Temperature measures how hot or cold something is. Whether that's your body, a metaphorical reception from an audience, or if you need a jacket when you go outside. But that definition is deceptive because hot and cold are subjective. We'll explore that idea later. What we call temperature is simply a measure of the amount of heat an object gives off. Even items that we say are cold are giving off heat. In fact, nothing gives off cold, only heat. Crazy, huh? How can a snowball give off heat? The heat that all objects emit is in the form of thermal energy.
So you're telling me that everything gives off energy. Hot energy at that. So like I'm going out into snow and it's going to be hot.
I know it feels cold to you, but there really is no such thing as giving off cold. All objects give off heat, and I promise to explain why. Everything is made up of atoms that combine to make molecules. Air, dogs, Diet Dr. Pepper. Everything consists of molecules. These molecules are always moving. When they move faster, they give off more heat, and when they move slower, they give off less heat. This is what we mean by thermal energy. It's how fast or slow the molecules or atoms are moving. An example is water. The molecules in boiling water move faster than the molecules in frozen water, so boiling water has a greater thermal energy and thus a higher temperature than frozen water. Have you ever wondered why things are hot or cold? Why isn't everything just the same temperature? Does it have something to do with thermal energy? Sort of. Let's dig deeper into energy and see if we can find the answer. There are two general types of energy, potential and kinetic. Potential is waiting to turn into kinetic energy. A log waiting to be burned, a battery that is not in use, and the water behind a dam are all examples of items with potential energy. The molecules are waiting to change their movement.
They're waiting for their potential. That is a funny turn of events. It's literally called what it does. Hey, you always wanted your potential, sir? Well, guess what? So do these molecules. Welcome to potential energy. What a molecule might be.
Once a log is burning, a battery is put in a flashlight and turned on, and the water behind the dam pours through the gates. Potential energy turns into kinetic energy.
Yes, it's your potential, what you might be. The molecules are waiting to go through potential so they can become kinetic.
There are many types of kinetic energy: radiant, motion, sound, electrical, etc. However, thanks to the work of German physician and physicist Julian Robert von Mayer in 1842, we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. We call this the law of the conservation of energy. No matter how much potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, there can be no loss. So, if the radiant energy, if you remember from our list, this is a form of kinetic energy, of the burning log is only 25% of the potential energy the log has, then the other 75% of the kinetic energy has to be in another form. A lot of it will be thermal energy, which we call heat. Thanks to the law of conservation of energy, we can feel cozy in front of a blazing fire that's in the fireplace on a snowy day.
Well, I always enjoyed a good hot chocolate.
You can thank thermal energy for that. And other things. Tasty chocolate.
Yes, other things. Well, you explained that everything has atoms, and since atoms, I assume, give off energy no matter what they do, I would assume that everything has thermal energy?
You are correct. Everything gives off some thermal energy. I am going to say right here that we're not talking about the universe at large. I'm talking about Earth and the solar system and things like that. Once you get into talking about like dark matter, dark energy, and things like that, things get weird. We're not going into the weird today. We're staying on friendly planet Earth.
Aww. But I like the weird. How could you, Jen? 90% of me is weird. Why?
Wait, only 90% of you is weird?
The other 10 is carbohydrates.
I promise someday we will do a series that includes talking about dark energy and dark matter, but that's not for today.
Okie dokie.
So here on Earth, everything gives off some thermal energy. The molecules never stop moving. They may move faster when in a state of kinetic energy, but even when they are in a state of potential energy, the molecules are still moving. The only time they do not move is at 0 Kelvin, which we'll talk about in session 4.
Well, that shouldn't be too far away, which is good.
Just a few weeks. And I promise it will be worth it. Besides, we have only scratched the surface of temperature. Let's talk about how we learned to measure temperature.
Ooh.
Humans and many other animals do not need anything other than themselves to register whether something is hot or cold. We have sensory receptors all over our skin, but especially on our fingertips.
At least we should.
Do I have to say most people?
Listen, you've seen the videos as well as I do of people grabbing hot pans and just completely ignoring it.
That is a good point. It is possible that either their sensory receptors do not work, or their brain is giving them odd instructions. Although, I have to say, especially youngsters, everybody touches the hot pan once. Otherwise, how do we learn the pan is hot?
Usually by your mother yelling at you, what are you doing? Stop touching the pan.
That's what we need parents for, it is true, so that we don't have to touch it ourselves.
We still touch it, though, let's be honest here.
Yes, absolutely I did. Because why would I listen to my mother?
Yeah, you're the troublemaker out of the two of us.
I think we share that role, thank you very much.
I listen to my mother plenty.
Well, now that we're adults, we do. You listened to your mother when you were a child? All the time?
I had 2 younger siblings.
You were the responsible one of the 3 of you, huh?
Only with my siblings. I'm a menace otherwise.
There, the truth comes out. I knew we'd get there. With any luck, we have sensory receptors on our fingertips. These receptors receive information about many things, like if something is dry, wet, or sticky, but the ones that contain thermoreceptors can determine the temperature of something. This is an evolutionary adaptation that helped us survive by not touching fire or spending a lot of time outside in freezing conditions. But over time, we wanted to know more than just if something's dangerously hot or cold. As cooking became more precise and scientists wanted to do more intricate experiments, a need for a temperature measuring device became necessary. This may seem silly today with our digital thermometers and apps on our phone, but for most of humanity, there was no way to measure the temperature, and we could only talk in comparisons.
Yes, don't go out there. Oog just froze over. What do you mean Oog froze over? I mean, he froze over. I don't know what else to tell you. Do not leave the cave.
That's basically all they could do. The first primitive thermometers were developed in the 14th and 15th century. Called thermoscopes, they trapped air in large glass tubes that were closed at one end and submerged in water at the other. The water in the tube rose and fell depending on the temperature of the air. It was quite clever, but it was not portable, and it was not measuring the temperature. It simply noted a change in the temperature.
It also wasn't great for desert continents, I imagine. Low supply of water at times. Hey, we should use it for a measuring device. I can't. Ooh, that would not end well. Give me a drinking water. I need to make a misspoke.
The scientists we know who were making these thermoscopes, they were all European.
Oh, goody.
No deserts.
Oh, sad.
Speaking of Europeans, in 1612, a Venetian physician by the name Santorio added a numerical scale to a thermoscope, thus creating the first thermometer. You'd think since he did it first that we would use his scale today, but there is no Santorio scale.
That we know of. There might have been.
You're right. In the past, there might have been, but nobody wrote about it.
Sad. Then again, I don't know how much they wrote back then about anything.
Oh, no, this was like the beginning of the Renaissance. People were writing all over the place.
So they were like you, bookworms.
Yes, so the printing press had been around for over 100 years. People were mad about books.
Good for them.
The reason we don't use a scale like his today is because he only measured temperatures connected to the human body since he was a doctor. He didn't care about freezing or boiling water. The next leap in thermometers was designed by Galileo. His thermometer had enclosed glass globes suspended in water. The globes had different liquids and expanded or decreased at different temperatures. By looking at where the different globes floated, it was possible to tell the temperature. If you would like to see this type of Galileo thermometer today, you don't need to go to a museum. You can buy one on Amazon for about $30.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my brother had one when he was a teenager. It wasn't amazing for telling the temperature, but it was really cool when it was sitting on your desk.
Ah, that makes more sense.
What is most amazing about these early thermometers is that they work on the theory that hotter liquids rise while cooler liquids fall. That happens because of the movement of atoms, and atom theory was first described scientifically by John Dalton starting in 1803. But Galileo and others didn't need to see an atom to understand that hot water expands, and that knowledge led to a way to measure temperature.
Good for them. Though now I have to wonder if anyone else in different parts of the country's figured out similar things.
Yes, I want to say that much of history, especially scientific history, we talk about people who lived in Europe. It is very possible that people in India, that people in China were developing very similar things, happened all the time. In this case, the ones we talk about, and more importantly, the ones whose scales we eventually started using, they were all Europeans.
So from what I understand, temperature is something we've slowly been growing into. So how exactly did Celsius and Fahrenheit become the measurements we've decided to use today?
That's an excellent question. We haven't even discussed them yet. We will get to the 3 ways we measure temperature today in future sessions.
Wait, there's 3?
Oh yeah, we haven't even discussed Kelvin yet. But he's kind of a special case. You don't use Kelvin in your everyday life at all. Only scientists use Kelvin. Kelvin's also a very special measurement of temperature, and it's totally different than Fahrenheit and Celsius. He will get his session, though. Session 4 is on Kelvin.
I assume then 2 and 3 have Fahrenheit and Celsius in them?
Yes, 2 is going to be Fahrenheit, and session 3 will be about Celsius. There were many men besides Fahrenheit, a Dutchman who manufactured thermometers with mercury inside of them.
Oh dear. Mercury! Just what we needed in life.
Mercury is so much fun, though. It's a liquid metal. You know, it's bizarre.
I will remember this for your birthday, Goodwit.
It's okay. I played with enough mercury when I was little. I was inside the thermometer, though. I wasn't playing with it outside the thermometer. But we definitely had glass mercury thermometers when I was a kid. And yes, I knew they were poisonous, though, even back then. We were told to never drop the thermometers, lest they should break. Luckily for us, mercury is no longer used in modern thermometers, although liquid thermometers are still around and work the same way they did hundreds of years ago.
Yay, we decided poison was not the way to go! Hip hip hooray for thoughts!
Now, we also have infrared thermometers that have many advantages over liquid ones. It is not necessary for the thermometer to touch the object. This is handy if it is too far to reach, or if it would be safer or more hygienic for the thermometer to not touch anything, such as skin. For this reason, infrared, or digital thermometers as they are commonly known, are becoming more common. You may have one in your medicine cabinet or your kitchen drawer.
I have neither! My closest thermometer is for making candy.
Well, now I know what I'm getting you for your birthday. So you have an old-fashioned thermometer as your candy thermometer?
No, I have a legitimate candy thermometer.
But it's not digital.
No, it's a glass one.
Have you not seen digital thermometers? The ones for cooking?
Don't have one, so no.
Well, I'm definitely getting you one for your birthday. All they have is a metal piece that's just the probe, and you stick that into the boiling liquid, and it's connected to the electric part. So the part with the batteries in it is not going into the boiling liquid, just the probe. Totally safe. At the beginning of this session, I mentioned that temperature is subjective. I bet you thought I forgot. I wouldn't forget, because this is one of the most interesting parts of our perception of the thermometer. Whether you think something is hot or cold is relative to what you are touching. If you walked outside on the hot pavement in your bare feet and then stepped inside onto the cool tile, the tile may feel colder than it actually is because to you, it is much colder than the outside pavement. This perception has to do with the relative temperatures of the two objects. Another way that temperature can be relative and thus your measurement is unreliable is due to conduction. Conduction is how well an object transfers heat from one object to another. If you touch a book and a metal box, you would probably say that the box is colder even though they are both the same temperature. This is because the metal is a great conductor and it draws heat away from your skin, thus making the object feel colder than the book. A sweater is a poor conductor, so when you wear one, you feel warmer because the material is not drawing any heat away from you. Thermometers measure the actual temperature. Your thermoreceptors measure the relative temperature. This works fine most of the time, but it can be deceiving. But not anymore, because now you know.
Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us on Season 1, Session 1 of A Single Light. We hope you continue to explore with us as we learn and grow throughout this podcast. Bye-bye.